Hello and welcome. This is rooflemonger, and my friends, this is your beginner's guide to DnF Duel. So in this video, we're going to be covering just basically all of what this game is, what it's all about, as it's both complex yet very simple in a way most fighting games are not. Like, this is actually, if you're looking to get into fighting games, perhaps one of the easiest fighting games to ever get into, and might truly be the, easy to learn, hard to master kind of deal. So before we get into it, and we're going to cover just about everything about how the game works, from the basic stuff, just, attacks, to more advanced systems, just so you know, what game is this? What kind of game is this? Well, this is a game from Arc System Works and Aiding. Arc System Works, you already know who they are, right? Guilty Gear, BlazBlue, all that stuff. But Aiding, just in case you're not aware, is behind some more crazier games like Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3. And on top of a wide variety of characters to play with, like whatever playstyle you want, you will find in this game for sure. From grapplers to puppets to rushdown to zoning. Also has world-class great netcode, so if you're looking to hop in, this is a good place to do it for fighting games. So that said, now let's just start with the absolute basics. How does the buttons and movement work? Now, attack-wise, this is a 4-button game. Now, in the game, they call them Attack 1, Attack 2, Skill, and Magic. I'm going to call them Light, Medium, and Heavy Magic. So, you have your Light, and it's exactly what you think it is, right? Light for every character is your quick button. Now, obviously, depending on the character, some are quicker than others, right? The big guy with the hammer, his lights, maybe not as quick as the little girl, right? Her lights, maybe shorter range, but definitely a lot quicker. But, them's the breaks, I suppose. Now, you have lights, you also have mediums, and, they're slower but more damaging. And you have the heavies, the skill button. Now, as you can see, heavy, like in any other game, this would be a special move, right? But in this game, because it's made by Aiding and it's a crazy game, this is just this heavy attack. That's all it is. Now, also unique about heavy attacks specifically, like everyone has standing versions of their moves, crouching versions, and jumping versions of their moves, right? And that's applicable for light, mediums, and heavies. But heavies specifically, on top of the base version of the heavy, they also have forward and back versions. So the Crusader, the guy we have right now, his standard heavy is this big wallop, right? That eats up so much of the screen. But forward heavy is a fireball. This fireball, it doesn't cost you anything, it's just a basic move. You can just do this whenever. So that's forward and heavy, and back and heavy is a counter. So if the enemy tries to jump at you or do whatever, it's a counter attack. So if you time it correctly, you smack them with that big hammer. And every character in the game can do this. So we have the Striker here. This is her basic heavy. Big old shoulder slam, right? Forward heavy, big fist. Back heavy, it's a low kick. And they all chain to each other for her specifically. That's a unique feature for her. Every character has unique features. But yeah, so the heavy is also much more versatile than just a basic normals. And so that's light, that's medium, that's heavy. And we also have the magic button. Now, magic uses your actual magic meter. You can see above that blue bar, these buttons, no matter what permutation, because they come in a couple different versions, they all take meter. That meter we'll talk about in its own section, but that's what makes it different. Light, mediums, and heavies take no meter. Magic attacks do take meter. Now, besides that, we actually have a dedicated guard button. Now, this is a game where you can hold back the block and down back the block as well, right? And you have the guard button. So the thing about that is this. Now, the big difference here is that dedicated guard button, you cannot move while you're doing it. As you can see here, versus a normal back to block, you can gain space backwards while also defending yourself. So there's pros and cons here, and the big pro for the guard button specifically is cross-ups. So when you are holding guard and a cross-up's coming your way, you automatically block. So guard button, at the price of your mobility, makes you block all left rights. Now, you still have to guess high and low. That part, it doesn't save you at all. That part, you gotta guess. But the dedicated guard button means you're always just going left and right. Now, of course, once again, you're not moving, and someone holding the guard button is definitely getting open to getting thrown for sure. So there's play, there's counterplay, but it's a fairly unique thing of the game. Besides all that, the movement is pretty universal. Everyone can run. Even the big characters can run. Some anime games, big characters can't run. Everyone can backdash. Everyone can jump. Depending on your character, you might have more air options. Some have more, some have less. Some just have the basic jump. That's it. And our last little bit of universal mechanics is there is a dodge. As you can see right here. So the dodge is a semi-invincible, well, dodge and move forward. Now you can only move forward, FYI. Cannot do a back dodge like, say, King of Fighters. Now how you do it is simply block and hit forward at the same time. That's all it is. Forward and block at the same time. And it'll give you some invincibility to help get past certain attacks. Now, it's not infallible. The invincibility is certainly not forever. But if you're struggling to get past certain attacks, be it, you know, big attacks or fireballs or whatever, this will help you get past that, and that's universal. Every character can do it. And that's about it for the absolute basics. We're going to talk about a lot more. We're going to talk about the magic system, magic moves. We're going to talk all about combos and chains and all that kind of stuff. There'll be timestamps everywhere in the video, so skip to what's applicable to you. But now, let's go to the next section, and let's talk about that magic meter. So now, let's talk magic points. So that is the blue bar below your health bar. And this is kind of what makes everything go for the most part. So once again, we have our dedicated buttons. We have light, medium, heavy. Also attack 1, attack 2, and skill, if you want to use that term. And then we have our magic button. And our magic button is our really strong attacks. And all of our magic button attacks, well, it takes that magic, right? And we just use our regular magic attack here, okay? Now you can see it uses 40 points, because we're at 100 and we're at 60, and it slowly rebuilds. So basically everything you do that is any kind of magic-based attack that uses the magic button will take some amount of magic points. So we have this big old flame axe, right? And you might notice that did a different amount, because every skill using the magic button actually uses a different amount of magic points. Say we have a look at the command list here. You got a good idea of that. So our first skill here, the firebomb, uses 40. This one here we used before, the big flame axe, that uses 50. But some, like this guy here, uses 80, which for good reason. It's an invincible reversal. Consider this move like a Shoryuken in Street Fighter, right? This is your get out of dodge, get out of trouble move. So everything you do, obviously they have different properties because they're all different moves and they all use a different amount of mana. Now, you're not stuck at 100 points of mana, right? Because if you did, well, things get really boring pretty quick. Because you do one move, all right, we do another move, and then boom, we're exhausted. That means we went over our allowed amount. At that point, the magic just stops regenerating, and it's basically a penalty, a timeout. You use too much cool stuff, and now you have to wait for it to rebuild. Now, thankfully, there is one small good thing about that. So if you use a lot of mana here, see, we're at 24, right? And we know that this big boy here, our invincible move, that takes 80 mana to do. That's crazy. But, as long as you have even a single point of mana left, you can do any move. It doesn't matter. So even though that move right there costs 80 normally, we can still do it despite not having anywhere near the right amount of magic points for it. So when you're low and you just definitely need a certain move, don't worry about the costs because you definitely can always do it. It's just a matter of, are you willing to deal with the exhausted penalty where you get no more recovery and you can't do any more cool moves for a while. So now that we know that, that's good. That's the basics, right? You might notice there's this whole section here that's just empty. It's not doing anything, right? Well, that's, I guess you could call it our comeback mechanic if we had any. In that, the more you take damage, the more that unlocks. Now you can see it does 120. Take another hit or two here. Oh, it's going to 130. Going to 140. So the more damage you take over the course of a match, your total mana, your total magic point allowance goes up and you can build more and more and more. So effectively, what this means is the less health you have, since you have a much higher base mana, you can do bigger and more flashy and more impressive combos. So if the game were to have any real comeback mechanic, that would be the big one. The more life you have lost, the bigger your overall mana pool is, and therefore the more flashy and impressive things you can do. It is very easy to burn through your mana in this game because quite a few characters in this game you are allowed to special cancel any of your magic-based moves into other magic-based moves. So let's use our striker example here. So back and magic is the big gut punch here, and it causes a bit of a crumble. And yes, like you can do follow-ups or whatever, but you can also just go directly into a different move. You don't have to wait. Just do it, and as soon as it connects, and see here, we just went into a completely different move. And you can just keep chaining and chaining and chaining these. Like for example here, so 1, 2, 3. And yeah, we burned through all of our mana at that point, right? But we did 3 basically effectively special moves, if you will, because that's basically what magic moves are. They're special moves, right? And did them over and over and over. Now, character to character, it changes, right? Not every character can cancel their specials into specials into specials, right? Like for the striker, that's easy. Like we can just go over and over and over, like no real thought to it. In fact, for some reason, she started attacking the other way in the screen. That's how weird it can get, right? But this is just a feature a lot of characters can do. Yeah, it's in Dungeon Fighter Online, it's one of the showcases of the game, so they translated it to the fighting game. So depending on the character, this is the big thing, is you can burn through as much meter as you're given, right? You can go from full to nothing in a split second. So managing the gauge, making sure you want to bring it low, but don't quite go exhausted so you have the penalty, right? Bring it low so it can start regenerating and start using all your moves. There's still so much more to talk about, so let's go to the next section, talking about easy inputs versus quote-unquote regular inputs and their effect on your magic gauge, because that's a very big deal as well. So easy inputs. This is one of the reasons why the game's very attractive to beginner players. Because here I am as the grappler, and when I do my big grab, I can do it very easily. Boom, look at that, big damage, right? And all I did was just hit back and the magic button. That's it. Now, I don't have to do that. There is a proper command, and it's quarter circle back and the magic button. And it's the exact same move, does the exact same damage. So why would I bother doing an input versus just the easy version of the move, right? There is a very small reward. It's not that big. It's not that pronounced, but it is there. So it has to do with when you do any of the easy input moves, it doesn't matter what it is. So with any of your magic-based moves, a split second after the move's done, your magic starts regenerating, right? Fair enough, right? And that works if you do the easy thing or if you do the motion. But the thing is, when you do the motion, the magic actually regenerates faster. So I'm going to give you a side-by-side here. Notice, hey, it's, you know, in real-time speed, it's not that pronounced, but it is a difference. So the benefit of doing the proper motion versus the simple motion is the magic gauge starts regenerating faster. Now, conversely, if you go exhausted, it doesn't matter, right? You might as well have done the simple motion, I guess. It doesn't really matter one way or the other because you're exhausted one way or the other. But still, that is the main thing. Now, keep in mind, too, here, one of the defining features here is everyone has, you know, neutral magic, back magic, a forward magic, and obviously different character to character, and down magic. And the one thing specifically to note here, every character's down magic is a defensive move. It's different character to character. Like for the grappler, it's a parry. So if someone comes at him, you can dunk him, right? But for the striker, it's more like an uppercut in Street Fighter, something like that. Like that's a proper invincible move. So different character to character, but it's a defensive move no matter what. Always down in magic. Now the thing here is down in magic, it might be one of the better scenarios just to eat the tiny penalty. Now down and magic is universally Dragon Punch motion and the magic button, right? And if you do the motion correctly, the magic regenerates faster. But it takes you time to do the Dragon Punch motion. You can just hit down in the button faster than you can do the motion and hit the button. And those couple frames difference could be the difference between life or death, right? So in situations specifically where you're defending yourself with an invincible reversal, your defensive maneuver, that one don't feel too bad. Just hit down in the button because it might be the difference between life and death. But in the end, if you're newer to fighting games, don't feel bad at all. If you just use the easy input, the difference for the mana regeneration is not that pronounced. It's basically like a split second, right? It's definitely better if you can, but if you can't, don't beat yourself up over it. And if you can, then it is to your advantage to do the proper motions. So there you go. Now let's go into the basics of combo structure and combo flow. Pretty easy, actually. Lights go into mediums, and mediums, they go into heavies. That part, that works out. That's easy enough to understand, right? Now, one thing to note here, there's a quote-unquote auto combo, if you will. Every character has basically a 2-hit combo if you mash light. Now, it's not like Dragon Ball Fighters or anything. If you just keep mashing light, you're not going to get a full combo. This is where it ends. You just get 2 hits, that's it. Now, the animations are different character to character, and sometimes, in the case of the Striker, it does combo into itself, just because the frame data sort of works out that way, but it's still only technically 2 hits. You can take that 2-hit combo and go into a medium, and from that medium, go into a heavy attack. Simple enough. Now, you can also alternate. So you can go, say, stand medium into crouch medium, as you can see right there. And that just gives you a little bit more time. So here we're doing light, stand medium, then into crouch medium, into a crouch heavy, as you can see there. And for grappler specifically, crouch heavy is jump cancelable. Some characters can jump cancel normal, some can't. It's all character to character. And from that, we can make basically a proper combo. So hit confirm. Okay, we know we have the combo. Air follow-up, dunk, and baby's first combo. Now for grappler specifically, he can go from a standing medium into a crouching medium, but he cannot go from a crouching medium into a standing medium. That is also going to be another character-specific thing. Someone like the Striker can do much the same, stand into crouch, but she can also go crouch into stand. So there is some character-specific rules, so I do suggest you play around with it. The basics of ABC, that's pretty much universal for everyone, for the most part. Some characters, they can't even do a basic chain. That's, you know, yo, hi, Crusader, right? But for the most part, A to B, C, light, medium, heavy, that works. And you can usually get some alternating forms of standings in the crouch. And so for some characters, you can also get crouches into standings. So you can just get a big chain going on and just go from there. Another thing is there is hit stun decay. So the bigger combo you string together, you might not be able to get everything. So let me give you an example. So for the grappler, I'm going to go down, medium, down, heavy, right? And that juggles. So I'm going to jump afterwards. Medium, heavy, magic, which is a grab for him. Okay, 5-hit combo, easy enough. But if the hit stun is very high, I might not be able to get all of that. As you can see right there, they sort of flipped out of the combo, right? So some moves advance the hit stun decay highly, some moves don't. So you really got to play around. Also, keep in mind too, sometimes, especially in this game, less is more. So same combo example here. So down medium, down heavy, jump medium, heavy, and our grab. 311, right? Good chunk of damage. But now if we add a bunch in front of it here, that's certainly a lot more hits, but does 252. That's way less damage. So getting your bigger hits in a smaller combo for the most part is to your advantage. It is good for longer combos to get hit confirms going on, but keep in mind the longer your combo generally is sacrificing your damage, especially if you add a bunch of lights in front of it. So keep that in mind. The game also does have some combo trials for every character just to give you an idea of what they're capable of. So it's a good idea just to pop in, see, oh, okay, this works, that works. Don't be afraid to see what's there, and then take it and explore even further. These are here just to give you an idea of what is possible. Another important concept that's kind of basic throughout fighting games, if I'd be remiss if I didn't mention it, is just simply counter hits. Now, counter hits, you know how this works, right? Basically, the enemy is going to attack you, and while they're trying to attack you, you hit them out of their attack, right? And that's great. But the thing is, in this game specifically, a counter hit gives you more hit stun. So it lets you do combos that might otherwise not be possible. For someone like Crusader, for example, Crouch Light is basically his only fast attack. He's big, he's slow, like he's got the big King Kong normals, right? Like he can do this stuff, other characters can't. But when it comes to fast stuff, not so much. And he doesn't get too much off this. Like, if your timing is really good, it links into itself, but that's about it. But if we have a counter hit, we can now link into our Standing Light. And Standing Light goes into his specials, and you get combos. So before, this did not give you much, but now with a counter hit, we get all sorts of new potential, all sorts of combos. So counter hits, just like most fighting games, quite important. Another thing that character to character is more important or less important is the guard gauge. So if you look at the top and the middle here, the two blue bars besides the clock, the more you block in this game, as you can see here, that gauge is just, well, going down, right? And it takes a while to kind of bring it down, but bring it down you absolutely can. And when you do, well, it's bad news bears, I guess is the best way you can put it. Because the guard break happens, and then you get guaranteed opened up. You get opened up, you can't block, you can't move, you can't do nothing. The enemy gets a guaranteed free hit on you, and that could be game over, basically, right? So watch that gauge. Once again, it's going to be very character dependent. A character like the Vanguard, he has very long attack chains, he has like multiple hitting stuff. Like, he's kind of tailor-made to just bust it open your gauge. Like, he can rip through it really fast, right? So against this character, it's a very real threat. Other characters like the Grappler's not going to do it, but he's going to chuck you around. So it's, you know, that's his specialty, right? But yeah, keep it in mind, certain characters can really shred through it like it's not even there. So you got to stop blocking and take the offense back. Now, on the guard note, there's also guard cancels, and this will save your life. It's not a situation you necessarily want to do, but it's going to be a situation that you'll have to do a lot of the time. So when the enemy's just like running all over you, yes, you're blocking, but not to your advantage, right? All you have to do is, while blocking, hit forward, medium, and heavy at the same time, and you'll go, nah, I ain't playing that game. I ain't sticking around for this nonsense. It's fully invincible, blows the enemy away. Now, you might notice there, it said exhaustion, right? Because it does take 100 meter. You cannot do this without a full 100 meter. So the cost is pretty high. And as you can see here too, the damage, well, it's not exactly like big time damage. Also, it can't kill, so you're not going to win around with it. So no reversal of fortune on a block there. But yeah, sometimes just the pressure is going to be too much. Some characters, especially like the Kunoichi or the Inquisitor, they're just going to put you in the grinder, and you're going to have to spend that 100 meter to get out of dodge. Now, to note, it's not guaranteed if they sniff it out. It can miss if you're not close enough, and if they do something quick and just stop, they can recover and block it in time. So there is counterplay to it. It's not just a free, no consequences, get out of jail, ha ha ha, like no matter what, I'm free, right? But in situations where you know they're committed to attack and you want them off, this is the get off me attack, the get off me button. Now, let's talk the Awakening. This is where stuff starts getting real. What is the Awakening? Well, the Awakening happens when you're at specifically 30% or less of your health. So we're at 100 right now. Let's go to exactly 30. And how do we know we're in Awakening? Well, geez Louise, look at that health bar, right? It's glowing red and all nasty, so stuff's going down. And of course, once again, when your health is low, your maximum magic potential goes up, so you can do a lot more magic moves. But here's the thing. We have our Awakening, and it allows for our Awakening attack, effectively our super move, and it also unlocks your character's passive. So the super move is the easy part. You do a cool thing, right? And everyone's different. You know, some people have big range, some people have small range. Whatever it is, though, it's always visually impressive. Let's put it that way, right? Like, ain't nobody want to get hit by something like this. This is the end of the world, right? And does a lot of damage. Now, keep in mind, too, while there's all sorts of supers, usually for the most part here, they're not invincible wake-ups. They're not the, I'm going to wake up and mash super and beat up the enemy. You will get hit out of it 9 times out of 10. Just fair warning. If you want a reversal, down in your magic, that's the universal reversal option. So do that. That'll save your bones. Don't do wake up super. That'll get you killed. Now, once again, too, supers are different character to character, so the launcher's pretty straightforward. It's just a strike. The grappler, spoiler, it's a command grab, also has a vortex effect, in that he can, like, vacuum you in, then grab you. So, play around with it. For a lot of characters, it's going to be pretty basic, and you just do it and you combo into it, and that's about the long and short of it, I guess. But still, it's very interesting, and you should know what you have available to you. Now, let's talk those passives. Now, once again, once you're at 30% or less health, your awakening happens and your passive unlocks. Everyone's passive does different things. Now, for the launcher, moves that do chip, that increase your white health while you're blocking, that chip will be massively increased. So, for example, here, look at that. That's a lot of white health to recover, for sure. Now, let's say that she didn't have the awakening on, therefore she did not have the passive, right? So let's reset here. So no more passive. Now, obviously, it still does a good amount of gray health, but nowhere near. It like doubles the amount of white health that it inflicts on the enemy. So for her passive, it gets riskier and riskier to block her effectively. Someone like the Berserker, when his passive is up, all of his attacks, well, they start gaining you health. And it's a it's a significant amount here. It's a non-trivial amount. You'll get a fair bit back. So basically, when he's at the brink, that gives him the ability to make a full comeback on his health. And that is significant. Now, some of the passives are less sexy, I guess you could say. Like someone like your Crusader, he just takes less damage, like across the board when his passive's up. Someone like the Grappler, he just takes barely any white health, gray health damage when he's blocking. Not quite as significant as getting tons of health back, right? But everyone's passive in their own way is a defining feature of the character, right? Whether it's explosive and very easy to visually see like the Berserker, or a bit more just reserved like taking less damage like the Crusader. So everyone, once that health starts going red, and you can see here, our Berserker, his health is like way past, it's over 50% now, right? But since he still entered the awakening state at all, means he can still do a super. He can still do the super. It doesn't matter if his health is low anymore, right? All you have to do is enter that state at all, and then, you know, not die, right? And then you can do your super whenever you want. Now, one thing to note about supers, just before we close out this section, if you whiff your super for whatever reason, that is it. You can hear me smashing buttons, right? You're not getting it back. That was your one chance. You blew it. So when you go for that super, make sure it's gonna hit. This isn't Mortal Kombat 11. It's not like Fatal Blow where it regenerates if you screw up and whiff. If you burn it and didn't get it, that's it. That's all. So make sure you're gonna connect. Okay, so now this section is one of the most important things at all in this game. And we're talking about the white health yet again. So white health, as you've seen it, you take it, and, well, this is the easy part, right? It slowly regenerates over time. So if you're getting bopped too much, or just not blocking enough, or whatever, like, at the very least, if you play right, you have the chance to get some of that health back. So very similar to something like Darkstalkers, right? It will reward you, okay, you got hit, but as long as you play it safe for a split second, it's not as bad as it potentially could be. But before we get to the critical part about this, just a thing to note. If you inflict gray health on someone, anytime you do a move with a magic component, that'll always get rid of all the gray health that was built up. So it doesn't matter if they had a lot going in, as soon as they get hit by anything with a magic, it'll be a critical hit and it'll remove all the gray health. So if you're looking to remove a lot of gray health from someone, make sure you hit them with a move that is magic based using your magic button, and then it'll just get rid of that from them. That's a big deal too. You don't want them to have that recoverable health. One, because you don't want them to get the health back, and two, because of the cancel feature. So anytime you have any amount of gray health at all, doesn't matter if it's a lot, doesn't matter if it's a little, if you hit medium and heavy together, you do a conversion, as you can see there. Now, what's that all about? So a conversion lets you cancel on the spot. So in and of itself, it doesn't look like much, but let's try this here. Let's try this. So I'm going to go medium, and then I'm going to take that medium and cancel and go into another medium directly. So now I have my recoverable health, and look at this. So yeah, you burn whatever amount of recoverable health you have left, and you turn it into what is effectively like a Roman cancel from Guilty Gear or X Factor or whatever. It cancels out whatever state you're in and then lets you keep going. Now, if it was just that, it would be a lot. That's already enough, right? Because that's a lot. That's a lot. That opens up a lot of possibilities. That's the biggest deal. Gray health is a resource to be burned and expended to help your offense, your combos, your everything. That's already great. But it gives you another bonus on top of that. So on top of being able to just cancel out, which is very, very, very good, you can also get magic. You get mana from this. So say I dump a bunch of my meter here, right? So here it is going to waste. Now I do conversion. I just got it all back. Huh. Isn't that handy? So the thing is this, the more of the recoverable health you burn in your conversion, the more and more and more magic you get back. So this scenario, it's like half my life, right? And you know, we're going to go into exhausted state on top of that. Screw it. And conversion, boom. We're basically back at full, right? Like, it gets you so much. It gets you so much. So you can be a dum-dum if you have some recoverable health to burn and you just dumped your entire magic meter, right? You just went crazy and you can get it all back at the drop of a hat. Now, the more you spend, the more you get back, right? So if you only get 1 hit point, so here we are. We have literally a single hit point, right, of gray health. And we do conversion. Okay, well, you didn't really get much, right? So you do have to invest a little bit to get returns on your magic. So here now, we are about 10% recoverable health. And now we do our conversion. Okay. So we got a bit back and starting a regeneration from exhausted. So that's definitely getting the ball back on the offense court. But here's the real beauty. It doesn't matter if you have 99% recoverable health, right? You still cancel. That's good. You have only a single point of recoverable health. You still cancel. No matter what, regardless of the magic situation, the cancel is the same. So if you have even just this tiniest bit of gray health to work with, do not be afraid to just go berserk with it. Don't be afraid to just go. Like, the conversion is so strong. And if you only have a little bit of health, sacrifice it. You get to go crazy. It's such a powerful mechanic in any game, that Roman cancel style of mechanic, where whatever you're doing, drop it, you return the neutral, right? Pressure, combos, whatever, setups, gimmicks. It's so powerful. And every time you balk anything or you just take a stray hit, you'll now have it available to you, right? So this is where a lot of the life of the game is going to be, is how well do you use specifically the conversion mechanic, both in a way to manage your mana, manage how your meter goes, because the more mana you have, the more crazy you can go in a lot of your best attacks, right? And just generally the cancel itself and all the pressure and everything it gives you, because it's truly fantastic. And all that said, that should give you a good idea of what DnF Duel is all about. It's simple yet fun. You can get in, you can start mashing, as long as you can hit A, B, C, as long as you can hit 3 buttons in a row, you can do basic combos, and obviously, the better you are at fighting games, the more and more advanced it'll go. If you suck at fireballs, you can't do Dragon Punch motions, you don't have to, because it's literally just forward or back and a button, and you can do all sorts of cool stuff. So if you're a beginner, if you're an old pro, it's got something for everyone, and just some very inventive characters, and some very inventive gameplay mechanics, and honestly, it's just pretty fun. I like this game quite a bit, honestly. It's good. I like it. So that all said, I hope this video helped you out, gave you an understanding of what the game's all about. Yeah, this is just the beginning of it all, right? This is, once again, the beginner's guide. There's a lot of advanced concepts, play all that kind of stuff. I'll leave that for later videos on the channel, and of course for you guys to figure out yourself. But until that time, we are now at the end of the video. So thank you very much for watching. Hope this video has found you well, and go out and play some DnF Duel.
Oh, yeah.